And of course, we have the first of those two teams coming up against Global Esports as well. Both teams already rolling out, no hesitation. And both playing Goats, a variation thereof. Green Leaves are leaning into the Sombra though. This Global Esports just positioned quite nicely on the point.
Early positioning being taken by GE here, as you'd expect, the team that needs to get a little bit more aggressive versus the Sombra and Pocky, trying to look for some early EMP charge.
He's made a decent bit of headway there, but 10 eating a stun, ends up getting drilled down. That's really unfortunate. And they had just landed a stun on Xeon Flux they couldn't quite follow up on. That could have otherwise maybe been a trade, but Green Leaves get him to take this one on the chin. The point has already long since been in possession of Global Esports.
So it's just going to be a quick retreat here, a fast reset, and trying to get as much damage in as you're backing out, specifically once again, looking at the Sombra here, 75% now. If they get a little bit more on their next entry, they will have EMP to play with. Pay also attention to support ultimates on the GE side. They will need to have counters.
Ooh!
And one good counter is taking down the Sombra.
Oh, that's so nasty, because he literally almost had EMP. He was at 99% when he died, and that's what Green Leaves were banking on. You could afford to quote-unquote lose the first fight because you'll have EMP for the next one. That's now gone.
This is now going to give Xeon Flux the ability to have Transcendence available. And he played last season very well as a counter Sombra player with that EMP. Transcendence versus the EMP run.
The nice displays there, but there's that EMP right on out. Xeon Flux in with the answer, having a bit of a hard time finishing any of these members off. So can Green Leaves dig a little bit deeper than that maybe? That was really their big tool. Already gone. Global Esports kind of weathering the worst of it.
And we're looking for now Shatters available. Luke's going to get one.
Oh, that's a decent catch as well. Finishing off 10. Counter Shatter in.
Much bigger one.
From Sonaro, but bigger in terms of connection, smaller in terms of kills, unfortunately. Xenofly's got a self-destruct to preserve the mech. They're keeping the pressure on, but Sonaro ends up paying for that one. Sound barrier, not quite in time to save his life. They're both going to go ahead and commit in anyway. Kim Yute with the grab is more than enough for Global Esports to finish off the last of Green Leaves, and that's also now rounding them in towards 90%.
You have to look at the timing here as well, because EMP was used first by Pocky, which you do expect to come in. Sonaro didn't quite have the Earth Shatter just yet. He was still on about the 90-ish kind of percent. By the time he does have it, it's not available to actually combo with. He lands it secondly, but after they've already lost 10, so not quite available for the damage. Now we're into last fight territory. Global Esports have ults.
Saving grace as Pocky almost has another EMP, and this is a good grab as well. They've been able to get a lot done here. Xenofly keeps the mech, but it's a 1-for-1 now. Scenario dead is a bit rough. They're wanting to maybe wait out this Transcendence. They need to keep Pocky alive. There it goes, right on top of the 4 members. Doesn't include Xeon Flux. They still lose a member as they go in, but they've found little rags. They aren't quite finishing off the critical members, though. Luke and Kim Yute need to be killed here. Green Leaves have positioning on the point, but Global Esports are about to take it back off.
Oh, that hits.
Counter Shatter from Sonaro, and it is all over the show as Green Leaves finally pull one out of the hat.
And that honestly looks so dire for Green Leaves as well. They had to use EMP in desperation. Didn't have the bonus damage coming up from Sonaro, their main tank. Didn't have the Earth Shatter available at that time because he was dead. So they were relying on the Brigida. They were relying on the Zarya to output most of it, buying enough time for then Sonaro to return just in time to get the Earth Shatter is what's going to end up saving them and giving them a chance to continue holding on. Best part is they will be coming up to some big ultimates. Graviton Surge and Transcendence about to be available.
Yeah, that fight might have been able to just kickstart the ult economy enough for them to have a really good defense. Pocky also close enough to an EMP. So far, the uptime has been pretty good out of him.
And this may just be a dry push from Global Esports. Don't have much to work with. May have to look for a few ultimates to be pushed out of Green Leaves. Maybe an opening pick if they can.
And there's the grab. They can get quick conversion off this. That's pretty ideal. Want to maybe charge up the rest of some of those other ultimates.
Looks like a reset.
Too much just yet, though. Really, Green Leaves would have liked more kills, so that's actually quite good for Global Esports when they were really only wanting to get ultimates out of Green Leaves.
And this is where, for Green Leaves, I think discipline would have been quite important. They threw the Graviton Surge right into Luke. Global Esports says, that's enough. We just wanted to get an ultimate out of them. Put Luke in danger, get him killed, the rest of the 5 of us walk away. And that ends up being a really good fight for Global Esports overall.
Green Leaves now really need to leverage this EMP into a bunch more kills. Goes ahead and commits it. Nah, nice catch on both the supports. Means that that time bought by Global Esports, unfortunately, doesn't quite help them yet. Xeon Flux still actually committing the Transcendence late in the fight as well as a bit of an ouch, given that they'd already lost a couple of members, and Green Leaves might even be able to get a decent cleanup here.
And it feels like he's trying to make up for the fact that he got caught in the EMP, but at that stage, just cop the loss. You just have to walk away. Just have to reset. Use the fact that you have time. You're on the 99% side. Green Leaves have just approached 80. You can afford to lose this fight, afford to lose your members. Keep your Transcendence available, then repush in, because it's going to be the last fight for sure. He doesn't believe he's going to get another Transcendence. Goes onto the Ana, which could be effective because Pocky doesn't have an EMP yet.
Yeah, I really like that switch there from Xeon Flux. Definitely the right time for it. Xerafi not quite going to get the displace on Luke. Now both teams square up for what will be the last fight, no matter how it plays out. Luke's Shatter goes right to the shields. Sonario doesn't get much mileage either. Double sound barrier. Xenofly going to toss the self-destruct in, stops the follow-up on the grab from 10, which was otherwise very well connected. No ultimates for the time being. Either side getting a kill would be huge in this particular moment until the next ultimate comes up. Little Rax goes down. Green Leaves also powering towards a Transcendence will give them a lot more mileage in the fight as Luke gets hacked. They start to put the pressure on, and Pocky with an EMP to close out the fight again. The guy's uptime has been phenomenal. 1 EMP in each and every fight. That's going to be Green Leaves picking up the first stage of Nepal.
And now you have to start looking at Global Esports, who just kind of lost control towards the middle sections of the game. Again, they were at 99%. They're looking at their own. If they're looking at 50, 60% on the other side, they walk in, okay, you can afford to take one dry fight. You lose Luke pretty early, that's fine, you got the Graviton Surge of the trade, you walk out of that one scot-free. Walk into the next fight, unfortunately now you're committing ultimates, now you're losing a very big fight that you probably didn't bank on losing, then you come in reasonably desperate towards the end there, and Green Leaves have options now. Both teams use all their ultimates, but it's the EMP, it's a Transcendence from Green Leaves that come out first, on terms of the new ultimates after the neutral, and Green Leaves end up taking it off the back of that.
Green Leaves have also been doing their homework, it seems. They've been watching Talon. They want to run the Mei out here on Village. Makes a lot of sense. We've seen it do quite well.
Which is great against the 3-3 being run by Global Esports. The pure 3-3, the Rhine version, Zenyatta as well. And Pocket can get a nice wall here. And the engagement on the point itself, which is why they're taking it so soon, that would be ideal.
They've made the rotation. They're right where they want to be now. Global Esports have to figure out how they want to address this. Serafi is going to be able to get away around the side there.
Have to be a little bit careful. Point is going to unlock. That's already a pretty good wall.
Yeah, they also isolate Luke for the most part. Get it? Isolate. They're actually going to finish off Xenofly's mech first. Losing Cloud's really rough, though. That really hamstrings their ability to stick in this fight. And also the kill pressure on the tanks without that Orb of Discord. So Global Esports are able to muscle their way through that one and actually are going to get control of the point again as it opens.
And GE actually ends up positioning decently well. Despite Luke getting caught in front of the wall, you see Xenofly go around the side, go to the back line, and have this kind of pincer rotation, pincer movement, where as soon as the wall goes down, the rest of Global Esports still flood in. They don't really lose any members there, and they're able to take that full-on fight despite the wall coming in.
Also really splits the focus. They end up putting Discord on the mech rather than finishing off Luke, and, well, Luke got a lot more value, and now Green Leaves getting really pressured at the choke here. This is going to burn some time off the clock.
Yeah, and Luke just held up a shield the entire time as well, so couldn't quite burn through that. And now, talking about burn, though, Green Leaves taking a decent amount of damage once again.
Ooh, might be a bit of ice burn, though, a bit of frostbite. It's going to be Blizzard out from Pocky as he goes down as well. It's not the ideal position for it either. It's way out from the point, but it's still been enough to pick up 2 of the 3 tanks. So Global Esports, Green Leaves going to make the rotation to the point. Lose Cloud in that rotation. They're going to need to get a lot done with these DPSs because, honestly, Global Esports are committing, and they are right to. They've still got a Transcendence committed just now as the grab comes out from 10, and Green Leaves struggling to get more kills. Sonario finally connects one, though, with that Earth Shatter. They find Little Rax. Luke comes back in, does not get the same kind of value. Sonario's still going to go down, and Global Esports are really holding on well here.
And they still have more ultimate Xenofly now, self-destruct available. Pocky's going to go down, and Green Leaves, it was a really good opening. Again, they got both the tanks out of Global Esports, who had the ultimate advantage at that time, so they felt confident. They're saying, okay, if we use these here, even if we lose, we're going to get a lot of percentage on that board. If they lost there, they would have been about 70%. Green Leaves start taking it up. It's still worth, because Green Leaves still had to use their ultimates just to win. But our worst case scenario, they use the ultimates, and they have to repush.
Global, generally speaking, have got more value out of their ultimates. That's already Transcendence early in the fight from Green Leaves. Kim Mutay's nearly on another grab, which means Green Leaves will have no answer for this, and that's with 50 already dead. Sonario just getting drilled down. Grab might not even need to be committed. Finally throws it out just to confirm these last few kills. There was a bit of a cheeky back cap in the midst of the chaos from Green Leaves, but at 98%, the regrab comes in for Global Esports, and I don't see Green Leaves holding out on this one.
They just don't have enough members available, and the worst part is, look at the percent charge of Sonario. 10, Xerafi, so close to having abilities, so close to having the right resources to re-push in, but tempo set by Global Esports so clear there, so cleanly there as well. Just being able to push at the right times, take the right kind of fights at the right times as well. This was that opening play on 10 as well, and straight away, as soon as they get the lockdown on the Ryan, you can see Xenofly coming in on the back, causing a bit of chaos, and then suddenly the wall's down, and it's a full-on brawl.
You see that split focus as well that I was talking about. Look at how many members turn away from Luke because they see Xenofly coming in. Luke's like, that's your prize catch right there. You want to finish that boy off. You don't want to go for the tiddly little trout. I mean, D.Va's a bit more than a small trout, but you know what I mean.
Small trout comes out when the EMEC happens, but
yeah,
before that happens, this time it's going to be
Big Fish spits up the food.
Playing the Winston variety as well. Going to go for this out.
Oh, brilliant buff. That's already scenario dead. Faith really finding that one. Xenofly, though, that's even Stevens. Pocky's low. That's not a favorable trade here for Green Leaves, to say the least, and honestly, with that, it's looking like Green Leaves are going to get muscled out. They're already pulling back to spawn.
And most teams do go for this outdoor play on the cliffside, and that's when you run both Winstons, you run D.Vas on both sides, you just go for it right to begin with. Point does unlock now. Global Esports already starting to cap that one through as Green Leaves.
They do get Pocky back in the mech just in time to contest. It's already Lil Rags down as well. Scenario low, but they're keeping him alive just enough to convert on these healers. And that means even though Luke finally kills Scenario, Luke finds himself with no healers left aside from Xeon Flux, and it will surely be Global Esports having to start seeding ground. No, they're starting to fight one back.
They got ultimates now.
From Xeon Flux, they're committing in, and rightfully so. Green Leaves didn't quite get the last few critical kills. The damage dealers on Global Esports were still alive in the fight.
And this is where they get the cap as well. They get the first couple of ultimates in the game. Transcendence into Primal Rage. You look at Scenario, not quite there. You look at Cloud, not quite there. 10 as well, died on 90-something% towards Graviton Surge, but is still a little bit behind Kim Butte. And this is off the back of Global Esports winning that initial skirmish on the cliffside, then coming in and having that early advantage to get the win.
Double grabs, we've both got them available, and it is Green Leaves slowly coming out the better of that. And that's actually because they had the Transcendence still, but no one from Global Esports died, so it's even Stevens. Green Leaves have more to work with, but they need to actually get kills with that. So far, they've been unable to do that, and Global Esports just backing off beautifully there.
So GE have now run out of ultimates completely. Green Leaves still have a little bit to play with, and they're going to be able to use them now.
It's only really self-destructs. That's now run out, and it's Global Esports with more gas in the tank at this juncture. Already getting a lot of members low. If they could finish these off, and they should be able to. That's already Cloud done. We're going to get a corner trap in here. One trade back so far, but Global Esports looks super healthy, and even if they get low, there's the Transcendence from Xeon Flux to make sure they can close out this fight. They did lose a couple of members, but they're still coming up the better of every single bit of these engages.
We're still going, by the way. Green Leaves are very much committing into this. Scenario with the Primal Rage as well, wants to try and finish things off, but you're now looking at a state of the game where we're 80% plus for Global Esports. They haven't really lost point control yet. They've won basically every single fight now, and you have to look at Green Leaves to say, okay, where are they going to get these kills in from?
Nice early grab there out of Kim Butte. Oh, it's already got the value, and even 10's counter grab, not enough. I mean, that was just a smart gambit from Global Esports. Even if you don't win the fight, maybe you keep them away from the point. They managed to get both 100-0 shut out to close out Nepal.
And this is where you have to look back at the early stage of Sanctum, where you've lost a couple fights in a row, but you come back for number 3, you have the Graviton Surge, there's no sound barrier, no Transcendence on the other side, and you don't finish any members off. And that's probably one of the couple of fights where if they lose this, they're really far behind. If they win that one, status quo restored, they probably get the cap. It's very back and forth. They have more ults to play with, but it just felt like they were perpetually behind from that stage in the game, or arguably even from the initial cliffside engagement, the skirmish, they were behind since then. So Green Leaves, I would say, had a decent run in Nepal, very competitive, definitely winnable, but it does go to Global Esports to start things off.
I mean, yeah, it does. I have to say, I kind of wanted to see Green Leaves go back onto the Sombra somewhere in there, because honestly, they had a lot more success in that. We go 99-99, and they end up closing out our very first match there on Shrine. We move into Village and Sanctum. Aside from a few percentage points in a back cap, it was 100-0 for Global Esports. And the fights themselves were competitive. They were close. It wasn't like one team was just getting totally shut out or one team had better macro. Both teams were keeping good pace. The problem is when push came to shove, Green Leaves weren't finishing off kills that Global Esports were getting, but when they had the Sombra, they were.
I don't think there was a compositional error, though. I don't think they should have ran the Sombra, because you're not going to get as much value on Sanctum specifically, and the main strat is good for Village as well, specifically when you're going up against the likes of a 3-3 standard with the Ryan version. So comp-wise, they played that fine. No compositional errors in my books, but It comes down to the other things you were mentioning there, the ability to actually get kills off ultimates, get the right kind of executions and the right conversions on those ults as well, getting value out of the resources.
Yeah.
There weren't very many resets on Sanctum as well. They were very eager to continue fighting, and they just kept throwing ultimates in and again. So we're going to see if we now going over to the Assault, which is going to be Paris, if things are going to shape up just a little bit better for Green Leaves. But let's go ahead first of all and find out a little bit more about Assault.
Welcome to Hanamura. This is Assault. Two teams face off as either defenders or attackers. The attacking team has a limited amount of time to capture two objectives. First A, and then B. To capture an objective, the attackers need to stand within its range for a set amount of time. Defenders can delay capture progress by also standing in range. To resume capture, the attackers must force the defenders off the objective by any means necessary. If successful, they score 1 point and gain additional time on the clock. Now the fight moves to objective B. If even one attacker is on an objective when the clock runs out, the game enters overtime. This extends play indefinitely until either team is cleared away. The round ends when the attackers capture both objectives, or when time runs out. Teams switch sides each round. Whichever team scores the most points wins.
Once again, on Assault, just like the other day, it's going to be Paris. And this is where we're now looking at the potential for maybe bunkers and stuff to come out. But to be really honest with you, based on what both teams have been playing, I would almost expect a bit of a gentleman's handshake here to say, let's just go for a 3-3 mirror again. Or in the case of Green Leaves, they might go for the Sombra variety. Now on a map like Paris, where it can be a lot more useful, that could probably be something that we see.
And we've already answered one of our questions about global esports on the other side of that, compositionally speaking, in that they are just looking to play 3-3 again. They've looked to rebuild that a little bit stronger than previously. And I mean, look, jury's out on whether it's fully stronger. We need to see more of the season for that. But they're sticking to that, right? Which means I expect we're mostly going to see 3-3, either Reinhardt or Winston, not even really looking like they want to use a Sombra in here. Maybe that will change as we move on to other game modes, though. So if they do have other options, this is where we'll see them.
Always good to test the waters, see if your opponents can handle this comp. It will indeed be a bunker. See the Batiste, you can see the Ashe in there, Ashe as well. So the Ashe I do like because you do need to have some form of kind of anti-fire here. You want to make sure that your opponents are not going to be wanting to run a fire. It's actually going to be Global Esports coming out with the Bastion comp first.
So there we go. Like we said, if they're going to run anything else, this is where we'll see it. And I do like them leaning into this with the Baptiste. Really scouting it out first. Smart call.
We'll see how they change up here. It looks like they're just going to go just for pure goods. They're actually going to be 50 playing the Sombra over Pocky. A bit of dive here as well.
Yeah.
So with this kind of composition, they do need to flank quite quickly. And you see the rotation from Global Esports holding up into this room now towards the back, where a lot more difficult for a dive comp to get angles on.
Interesting that obviously Pocky kind of has to be the diva player for the team. We'll see if 50 can get the same value out of Sombra as what Pocky got earlier on.
Look at the spy checking as well. You can just see Xenofly there looking at all the possible angles. Dive goes in.
Ooh, Sonaro eats a big chunk, stays alive for the time being, but they're not really getting a lot done with that immortality field down. It's unfortunately going to be Green Leaves not really getting what they need out of that first push. Not too unsurprising either, but
yeah. But I do want to say that is one check mark on the board for them, which is to say, okay, get out the important abilities. Immortality field gone. It's a long cooldown. You're going to be able to reach it beforehand, assuming you're going to get your members back in time and then re-push. This time when they dive in, they don't have to deal with an immortality field. The only thing they have to be careful of is Sonaro's early damage taken. If he had died, that would have been a lot worse. If he dies now, their dive still may fail.
The other thing here is you'd maybe kind of wish 50 had a bit more ultimate charge. You would like to be a bit closer to that EMP to help break open the bunker.
And they're assuming, look, Global Esports paying a lot of respect to Sombra. They're assuming the EMP is there, which is why they've already split the team.
It's going to be already commitment coming out. A lot of ultimates actually being tossed to the mix here for Global. Nice sleep on Lil Rax, and that was with that tank mode running. It's relatively even, now a lot less even. That's 10 dying with the Dragon Blade as well. And ultimate, they really needed to get some value out of. Killing Faith is nice, but he'd already got the res off on Lil Rax, so they kind of already got what they needed out of him, and Green Leaves still get wiped.
I like the insurance policy of the Ash. Towards the backline, we mentioned, okay, they are splitting their team up just a little bit because they're expecting an EMP. They want to make sure at least half their team is going to be safe to the EMP. If it is going to be someone like Lil Rax going down as a Bastion player, Kim Gute on the backline is doing a ton of damage. He's the one that picks up the majority of the kills after losing the Bastion. So Global Esports continue to hold now. Green Leaves finally do have the EMP, but they don't have their other ultimates just yet.
They also don't have his time. This is probably second to last fight, and if it's a long one, it might even become the last one.
Oh,
50. Oh, that's no, bad. That's rough. That loses so much time.
That's actually now going to give the opportunity for Global Esports to get a couple of other ultimates they wouldn't have otherwise had. Kim Gute with the Bob, Xenofly, Self-Destruct, these two could be very important. Green Leaves, man, time is, like you said, very important, but also timing in sense of where the ultimates, what are the resources both teams going to have.
Both teams kind of sit in a pitched battle right now while they set up, and that pitched battle always favors Global Esports, just the extra spam damage they can get out. If someone gets too low as you make the rotation, there it is, the EMP out. Good catch on Little Rax. That was before the Immortality field could go down, but now that it is down, it's keeping other members in the fight. 50 loses his life as well. They lose a lot of potential damage output. Pocky as well will not remech, and 10 getting pressured out. Green Leaves, thank goodness for Sonaro with this Primal Rage, because they're struggling to get damage in otherwise, but now Sonaro's getting muscled out, and the Primal Rage has ended. Kim Gute has still been doing damage. 10 luckily staying alive, has got topped off though, and he's going to be able to clean up the last couple of kills on this one. This is Green Leaves now properly getting established on the point, cleaning up the fight, and will be able to cap.
And honestly, one of the first kills was from 10 on Faith, who's playing at the time the Mercy, getting the Mercy down. Such a big deal. No resurrection available means you don't get Lil Rax back on the Bastion, means you don't get the other important members either. And suddenly Green Leaves can really fall back into respawn and reinforcement advantages, even if the trades go even. 10 being alive afterwards means he can keep getting kills, keep getting dash resets, and finally they break through onto B.
And that's the kind of target selection we were wanting to see out of Green Leaves. It still feels a little muddy, but it's looking a lot better. We'll have to see whether they can still grab point B here.
This is an important push because there's no big ultimates, no ultimates at all from GE. So, Sound Barrier into Dragon Blade.
50 did get slept out there. I think he's been able to translocate away by now with the nano boost containing one, not get the damage, the mileage that he was really looking for. And 50 had to translocate away, which means he's taking a long time getting back. It's only just there now, and the fight's gone even, and even for the defenders, there's an advantage because they had that closer spawn. Realistically, Green Leaves are retreating.
And we just needed to see more from the Dragon Blade, sadly, and 10, he did as much as he could. Got that opening kill onto Xenoflux, pretty high value. Dives in to try and get the rest, but Lil Rax, Kim Gute staying alive for so long. It's the Brigader, it's the Zarya, it's the extra bubbles, it's the extra shielding and the health. That just means they don't go down. If they do, you probably see a huge shrink come out because all the dash resets during a Dragon Blade, safe with the Sound Barrier as well. Green Leaves would have possibly have got 1 or 2 ticks.
Green Leaves also give up about 70% EMP charge. They want to move on to the 3-3, which does feel relatively sensible, I would argue. Sticking with the Ana because they still have a nano boost, but wonder if that'll become a Zenyatta after that.
They gotta be very quick with this though. Use the nano directly off the scenario, get very, very aggressive. Do not let Kim Gute get a very quick Graviton Surge here.
There it goes out as he gets into the thick of it. Has already got some work done. Faith down, Xenofly slept on the side is very nice as well. Opens things up a little bit for Cloud in the bulk of the fight. Now they turn tail and finish off Xenofly. The damage has been done. Green Leaves would like a few more kills though, because Global Esports will get a chance to respawn and come back.
Should be more members. Couple members caught out here. Look how split Global Esports are. Looking for a grab.
This could be the turning point here that Global Esports lean on, but it's not going to work out, unfortunately. Green Leaves have been able to do the damage, have been able to finish off these extra members. Now they finish off Kim Gute as well. Xenofly not on the point as he throws the self-destruct. So they cap with, I believe it was just under 2 minutes.
And the two things actually you have to look out for here is one, the fact that, okay, after the Dragon Blade Sound Barrier combo, you didn't have this big cleanup coming up from Global Esports, so you don't have this huge string of ultimate charge across the board for the team. Their highest charge member, Kim Gute, roughly around 80-ish kind of percent there. The second fight that occurs, the second push from Green Leaves going in, the nano boost available. So if you go very quickly here, pop it onto scenario, just get aggro, pick up a couple of kills, force the issue onto Green Leaves, onto Global Esports rather, who don't want to fight you yet. They're waiting for a Graviton Surge. Kim Gute is playing super safe. He's hiding, he's putting himself reasonably far away to not get implicated, but he can't get his ult charge up. He's firing damage into his shield, and by the time he gets his grab available, half his team is dead. And so unfortunately for Global Esports, they never got that defensive fight they wanted to on that second engagement, and they never got the correct kind of counter grab play, and it was just all over.
I mean, the geometry of the fight really hampered them as well. They just ended up kind of awkwardly split there. So even as the reinforcements came in, at best they were at a 5 versus 6 and had to battle their way through a team with more ultimates and better positioning just to be able to regroup for a numbers disadvantage. And then and only then might they have been able to realistically turn things around on a good grab. It was just a lot to ask for and really well executed actually by Greenleaves to create that situation.
Now I like what we've seen from Global Esports here in terms of their initial read of what the defense will be. They don't actually see it yet. They will scout it pretty soon. But because it's the Torb version versus, say, an Ashe or Widow version, the Pharah here is going to be very high value because there's no real good counter against the Pharah. So Lil Rax, when he sees this, he should be the key player into really dismantling this bunker.
Just a lot less pressure coming out. They've scouted it, they've spotted it. They're going to stick with it.
And if they just get out the first initial immortality field, they can start getting a little bit more aggressive. Luke does want to cause some damage. There he goes.
Super hard to keep that shield up as well here for Sonairo. Hack on Luke does give him pause, but not for too long.
You do have to be very careful. Look at ultimates here, because when Lil Rex has Rocket Barrage, that's go time. But also 50 is going to be another really key member here. If you can get a good hack onto Lil Rex in a place where he can't really be saved, that's going to end up being a kill. 50 under pressure.
So now the bunker has to rotate, but it means they give up point pressure. So Global Esports make their move now. If Greenleaves get kills, this is absolutely the right moment. But Global Esports, they can just sit pretty here.
Greenleaves can't even set up this bunker. Sonairo took so much damage there.
This is so good, such good pressure. Cloud goes down, that really hampers the healing. They've still at least got the Mercy who could go for a res indeed. Xerath hasn't gone for it.
The win condition is still a Rocket Barrage. You can see Lorax nearly on that 100%. There's no good defensive ultimates. Yes, you have Immortality Field. That's going to be your best bet. As long as Global Esports stays alive here, get a position where Lorax can do something, that's going to be a point cap.
Cloud isn't even with the team just yet. 10's already down, and here's what Xerath has been saving the res for. So 10 back in the mix. They found Luke, actually, and this is definitely enough to build a defense upon if they can get a couple more kills in the mix here. Haven't quite given up that second tick either, which is pretty nice as Kim Vitae goes down. Res on Luke is all for now as Xeon Flux goes down, and Global Esports have slowly but surely been muscled off.
We do have to be careful of these staggered deaths because, okay, Lil Rex went down early. He did pop a Rocket Barrage, only got one member, got 10 down, who then got res straight away. That's unfortunately not good enough out of that ultimate. The next option has to be the Dragon Strike. But Kim Vitae also goes down, pretty quickly afterwards. So they got to be at the regroup. Use this Dragon Strike. There's going to be an EMP as well. You have to consider this is going to be the winning push, but that is unless 50 can drop his EMP first and really disrupt the attack.
Cloud's amplification matrix could be pretty brutal here. Oh, great catch on Kim Vitae. That really hampers what they can do. 50 did commit an EMP there. It finds Lil Rax and Faith. This feels maybe a bit early, but they found Xenofly and they did want to dislodge Luke from the points. They've at least succeeded in that, in committing that ult. That is two big ultimates gone between that and the EMP for Greenleaves.
So we're resetting again. Once again, it's going to be Global Esports saying, okay, we'll just give up that fight. We still have ultimates. We're not going to commit here. If Greenleaves want to commit, that's on them. They're going to lose the ultimates. Pocky on the Torb is, unfortunately, I still don't think it's going to get value. The Bolton Core is not going to save you because there's not going to be a dive from Global Esports. They're going to be using Dragon Strike.
That's massive. That's really big. Can't res yourself, bud. EMP can come in as well if necessary. No, Pocky starts the Molten Core, doesn't get really anything else out of it, and finally Global Esports finding that opening pick so huge. Good counter trade on Faith, and the Immortality Field's keeping them in the fight. They've actually taken the healers out. All their damage now sticks. If they can get a little bit more out here, then maybe they can still do this, but it's tough. 10 is surrounded and pressure on the point. Finds Xenofly, the fall going down. Little Rack still in the air, untouched, is enough for Global Esports to finish the fight and cap the point.
And you see once more, it's the Mercy going down first that is so critical. The fact that Kim Vitae just snipes him from such long range, I believe you can... this is actually that Rocket Barrage. So he flies into the room, just gets taken down super quickly.
Yeah, that was the earlier fight.
The following couple of fights, when they actually win, is when they snipe Xerath out of the skies. If you're good Kim Vitae, you lob in the Dragon Strike. If you just put the Dragon Strike in, it's probably already good enough, but you get a little bit of extra bonus.
That's the thing. I mean, even just getting the Dragon Strike on a bunker, it sends them scrambling, and it is in that moment that you can create those opportunities to move up, take the ground you need. Anyway, moving forward for the next fight, swap speed for Global Esports. Greenleaves sticking on the bunker.
And they have the EMP coming up online soon, but this is the kind of composition where even if you drop the EMP, You can't really dive or follow up on it properly. You just have to rely on the opening damage, on the Bastion mainly.
Coming up close with some other ultimates though, so Green Leaf's not in too bad a shape. Xeon Flux is the answer to the EMP.
I do think this will stop the snowball potential, and Global Esports did change comps anyway, so there's not really going to be much of a snowball. But
oh man, they can just wait out the Transcendence now, and there it goes. They commit onto all 5 members with that EMP. Xeon Flux is in court, but it doesn't matter. He can't use the Transcendence. He's already used it. Green Leafs do commit a lot into that fight, and it may be because they're swapping here, but like you said, it absolutely destroys the potential for a quick snowball, and even then, Green Leafs had an advantage and have maintained an ultimate advantage.
And I'm curious now as to whether they will actually swap or not, because you can still make a bunker work on the speed defense, and this is where the Torb can actually do some real damage, because Global Esports running the 3-3, they want to quote-unquote dive on you. Not quite as a dive composition word, but they want to run into you. When that happens, you drop the Molten Core, and suddenly that play doesn't happen. You can't really brawl into a bunker anymore. So Green Leaves can still hold positioning for now. Still has the Valkyrie. Unlikely to lose Xerathi very quickly. There's no snipers on the other team, so in some ways it is safe to play bunker, at least for the time being.
That's the thing. They've got the rest of the ultimates to support it for now. So Global Esports coming close to an Earth Shadow, but that's really it aside from the rally. The Armor Shred on the Molten Core will really hamper that.
So you look at the rotations as well. Global Esports want to take control of the high ground because that is previously where the bunker was. So they kind of just playing ring around the rosy here as Global Esports want to walk in.
There it is, Supercharger, and that is a nice shadow though. Able to get past the members, doesn't quite get the follow up. Unfortunately, they've only found the structures, in fact, as Little Rax is dead. Sonaro finally gets picked, but honestly, closer respawns plus rares available in 10. If things really get hairy, can pop the tank mode. In fact, is going to do as much. They want to make sure they can finish this off. Because Kim Yute has decided it's time to commit further, he had already thrown the grab in. They find the 2 tanks, the 2 big damage-dealing tanks there, self-destruct. Again, only finding structures here as he gets finished off a second time, but with the closer respawns, it feels like this is starting to get futile for Global Esports. They find Cloud, though. EMP is decent. Can they get the kills? Because 50's down as well. Looks like they're finally starting to drive Global Esports back.
And that nearly went so poorly for Green Leaves because you see Pocky was out of position right at the beginning of that. As Global Esports want to push in, Pocky's off to the side, suddenly realizes his team's in trouble, has to pop the Molten Core as soon as he can to layer the lava down, but unfortunately the Earth Shadow already connected on a bunch of members. The Molten Core still does save 10, still does save the most important player of the Bastion, which allows him to then get a tank farm, then re-push in, and they're able to take the positioning back with the EMP as well. So Green Leaves continue holding on, and for Global Esports have to go for another reset, and they don't have ults.
And Green Leaves have the same ultimates that they had last time, assuming they get Valkyrie soon as well. They've got the Supercharger, the Molten Core. Global Esports actually have less than last time. The only thing they've got is Coalescence. High value for sure, but it's tough here.
And Coalescence is not going to be that good. It's going to be okay. Like you said, it's I don't even know if it's really super high value. It's kind of okay value.
It's value.
Green Leaves going to do the same kind of rotation now where you're going to waste a bit of time now reaching around that 30-second mark. And if you're Global Esports, I think you just need to try and go as quickly as you can.
There it is. Going to go ahead and commit the Coalescence early to maybe disrupt the bunker. But honestly, the Immortality Fields throws a real... That's massive! Absolutely destroys the tanks in Luke and Xenofly, and the rest of the team does not have a leg to stand on here. Kim Yute going to die super late here. Less than 20 seconds to go. I don't see Global Esports having a concerted push again.
And that Molten Halt combo, as soon as you see that come out, you know that Global Esports wants to get aggressive. So does Pocky, so does Green Leaves.
They've got EMP, still got tank form as well.
Could be the hold now.
If anyone is even going to touch this point from Global Esports, no they aren't, and Green Leaves tie up our series.
Excellent execution on that bunker defense, I would say, on both A and B. Certainly more so on B than it was on A. It is going to get them that victory onto Paris, and now we've got a real game on our hands where, to be fair, even in the poll, it was 1-1, and then suddenly a 2-1 for Global Esports. On this game now, you have a 1-1 apiece in terms of maps, and I think across this entire series, both teams are fairly equal.
And I have to say, the way Assault played out, I actually think bodes well for Green Leaves across the rest of the series. You see more of those kinds of set pieces, especially on Hollywood, on Hybrid coming up next. You see a lot more of that than what you see on Control. Green Leaves seem to just be a bit more comfortable moving on to other compositions, both offensively and defensively, and I think that's going to really be valuable as we we move into Hybrid and Escort.
And I think there is definitely a wrong way to play Bunker, but that wasn't displayed by Greenleafs, especially on that B defense. They knew what they had to do in terms of positioning, in terms of combos they needed to use, in terms of outplaying and out-executing what the opponents were going to do. You're well practiced. You can see the evidence of knowing how to play versus the 3-3 as a Bunker, moving around the map, wasting time, keeping your opponents occupied and saving the right kind of members. The only issue I had was right at the beginning, I still do think that running the Torb may be slightly weaker than running some other comps just because you're a lot more prone to the far.
At least on point A there.
Other than that, but I mean, despite that being the case, they still held on to point A for a long time before they got onto B.
And I will say, I think part of that is Global Esports kind of struggled. Like, if you look at how point A played out, they actually only fought 2 times. One was the first one, and they actually nearly broke it there. That was really down to the wire for Greenleafs on the defense. Then we had a huge long stretch where a play would get botched, or a member would get picked, or a rotation would go poorly for Global Esports, and then suddenly they got into the last fight, which was the one they won.
And now you're in a position where, again, 1-1 apiece as we're about to head into a break, and we'll see what happens after this because, like I mentioned as well, looking like a very close game now. Anybody can take this. So we'll come back and we'll have to find out who does right after this break.